Over the last week, I've spent several
streams
streams together with the subs to try and figure out a way to maximize the money you can earn in Warzone, and finally we've been able to perfect our strategy, which I will share with you today. At some point, we even had so much money that we didn't know what to spend it on anymore. To give you an example, the average team fights over a bounty for a certain amount of cash. I will now fight the same team for a much higher amount, so high that I will get a free advanced UAV on top of what the average team earns. The only videos that I could find on YouTube that cover the economy aspect in Call of Duty Warzone speak about the contracts, and that's it. They don't tell you what to do and in which order, and they don't give you any strategy to maximize your profit. Today we're going to change that. Knowledge is power. If you know where your enemies are, then your chances of winning will go up. In order to do that, you need money. That is what this video is about. If you are a pro team, then you could attack the current world record holders, because if you have more advanced UAVs earlier in the game, then you can optimize your strategy accordingly, which means getting more kills faster. It all starts with completing the most lucrative contract at the start of the game, so this is the first step. I'm sure that 90% of the people watching this video will land on a Scavenger contract, because you believe it's the best way to get your hands on your loadout. Well, it's not even close. The payout of a Scavenger contract is only 2,000 per player. Of course, you also get the extra money that you find in these boxes, plus some extra equipment like ammo and so on, but it's hit and miss. You never really know how much you're going to get. Sure, in quads you will get $8,000 for the contract, and the money you stumble upon will usually be enough to buy a loadout. But the same isn't true for any of the other game modes. So, you're still stuck. Instead, do a contract that pays you almost twice the amount of a Scavenger contract. For that, you have two options. You could do a most wanted contract, which will pay you and every other team member a very nice amount of $3,800. Times 4 is $15,200, almost twice as much as a Scavenger contract, which is great, but it takes time. Too much time. Instead, go for the bounty contract. It pays exactly the same, so almost double the amount of a Scavenger contract, and you can start it as soon as you're comfortable with the weapons that you find where you land. For me, this means an MP7, which is currently the best early game weapon in Warzone. So land, get your MP7 or something else if you like something else, pick up the bounty and start killing. The other team is not expecting to be pushed this early in the game, so they will be split up and they won't be ready to fight. I know that there are certain risks involved, but landing on a Scavenger contract with two other teams and fighting with pistols only is a lot more risky, to be honest. If you're lucky, you will only have to kill one guy to complete the bounty, and that's it. Go and get your loadout and you're done. On top of that, you now have at least 5,200 extra, which you can use for your UAV, something that you probably won't be able to get when you just do the Scavenger contract. So this is step 1. Go for the bounty and get your loadout. Step 2 covers your loadout. You will have to make some changes for 2 players. What we discovered is that the Pointman Perk, which nobody uses, is pretty overpowered. And on top of that, it's a sticky perk, meaning that its effects are long lasting. The perk allows you to instantly level up the contract bonus. This early in the game, it means that you will earn 40% more per contract, and that is valid for every single player in your team, so you only need one guy who has this perk. Later in the video, you're going to see that you will be fighting a bounty for 8,360 per player instead of 6,840 per player. This means that your team will now receive over $6,000 more per quad, just thanks to the guy with the Pointman Perk. This means that you will now get 2 free UAVs extra because somebody will be using hardline as well, but more on that in a second. On top of all of this, if the guy with Pointman changes to another perk as soon as the free loadout drops, then the effects of the prior Pointman perk will still be in effect. Meaning that even if nobody on your team is currently running the Pointman perk, you will still get the higher level and contract bonus, which is incredible. That is what I mean with the sticky perk. The effects stick. For this player's loadout, ideally he should use his best mid to long range weapon and then pick up the MP7 again, because it's a great short range weapon, meaning it's more than good enough. Besides, it's only for a short period of time that you will have to run around with the MP7, because normally the free loadout drop enters the game only a few minutes after you buy your own loadout. And then you can pick up your preferred short range weapon anyway. A second team member should go for hardline, so that he can use the discounted prices at the buy stations. That is what we call our money manager. He will be the only one buying from these buy stations, so that the other guys can run restock or anything else that works for your team. Unfortunately, you will have to keep on using the hardline perk for the rest of the game, because it is not a sticky perk. Or you can swap roles with somebody else when you go for the second loadout, but this is for the more advanced teams. I'm sure that you're familiar with the hardline perk, so I don't have to say that a UAV now only costs 3000 instead of 4000, and that you can get 4 discounted UAVs instead of 3 normally priced UAVs. And I think you know the rest. So, we just sorted out our loadout. One guy with Pointman, but only temporary, and one guy with hardline. Before we go for the next contract, which won't be a bounty contract by the way, let's quickly cover the contract bonuses. What you see here is every contract available right now except for a contraband contract, because you just have to be lucky to find one. You will also see the reward, and you will see how the reward changes per contract bonus level. When you complete a contract, you move on to the next level. So if you start with a bounty contract for 3800 per player and you then do a second bounty, then you'll be fighting for 5320 per player because of the 40% increase in level 2. The rest is self-explanatory. Step 3. Which contract should we do next? Just to make sure that we're on the same page here. You completed the first bounty contract, which brings you to level 2. But you have a guy with the Pointman Perk, which brings you to level 3. You could say, hey, let's do another bounty for 6840 per player, which means $27,360 in quads. Awesome, right? You'll be swimming in cash and most people don't even have their loadout yet. But no, let's not do that. Go for a supply run first. A smart viewer will question this, and with good reason. I just told you to go for the lowest reward contract, and I've been telling you all along to go for the highest reward one. How does that make sense? If you have a vehicle nearby, which you normally have this early in the game, then on average a supply run contract takes less than 1 minute to complete. The reward for this is that you and your buddies now have the option to go for a free self-revive kit. The total savings of this is $18,000. It does not outweigh the $27,360 from the level 3 bounty. But on top of the $18,000 that you save, you get a reward of $1,800 per player, which is $7,200 in total. Plus the $18,000 is $25,700, and now you're extremely close to the $27,360. The difference is only $1,660. The main advantage is that now, thanks to this small minute, you're now fighting with your entire quad on self-revives versus a quad that isn't even remotely capable of doing this. You will have such a massive advantage because 1, they're not expecting this, and 2, they're fighting some of your team members several times. But it doesn't stop there. After the supply run contract, you're going to do that bounty contract that you would have otherwise picked up instead of the supply run contract. Since you're now at level 4, thanks to the quick and easy supply run you just did, you will now be fighting over 8,360 per player. In other words, instead of fighting the same team for 6,840 per player a minute ago, you're now fighting them for 8,360 per player. So why would you want to fight them for 6,000 if you can fight them for 8? Now you will be making 33,440 in total instead of 27,360, a difference of $6,080. And your chances of winning against that team are much higher with 4 guys on self-revives. This means that you will be getting an advantage of 33,440 for the level 4 bounty plus 25,700 for the level 3 supply run, which is 59,140 versus only 27,360 for the level 3 bounty, and all it took was a supply run contract. It took less than a minute and there were basically no risks, and the time versus the reward equation is just through the roof. Regarding the supply run contracts, keep in mind that you do have a very powerful extra option or strategy available depending on which buy station it selects. If you pick up the supply run contract and it designates a buy station in the very center of the map, then I would send one of my teammates there with his car, let them drive past the buy station and get back to your location. In the meantime, the rest of the team will continue looting and get close to a bounty contract which we saw on the map before picking up the supply run contract. That way we have an extra trick up our sleeve. Just to be clear, the guy going for the buy station literally just has to drive past. He doesn't even have to get out of his vehicle, so he's relatively safe, especially with a trophy system on his car. The specific buy station and the bonus that comes with the supply run contract will remain active as long as the station lies within the playable area. So for example, imagine that you completed the supply run, you all ended up in the gulag and you are the only one who made it out. You just land on the buy station and you can then buy back one of your teammates. The guy who got revived can then do the same thing, so he can buy back guy number 3 for free. And that guy can actually do the same thing for guy number 4. So guy number 4, when he comes at the buy station, he can just get a free self-res, for example. This is where the true power of the supply run lies. It is not a sticky perk, but it has sticky benefits. The ability to buy back your entire team almost instantly for free is incredibly powerful. Arguably, the benefit of being able to do that outweighs the benefit of the 18,000 that you save for these self-revive kits early game, but it all depends on your strategy and the location of that buy station. Everything I just explained happens very quickly in game, so the first bounty, buying your loadout, the supply run contract and then the second bounty all happens at a rapid pace. Most of the time I get the free loadout after the second bounty, so I'm sure you can see which enormous advantage you can give your team by following this money making strategy. So this is actually the moment where you can go from your Pointman loadout to restock, for example. The economy aspect in many video games is incredibly important, and for most games it usually means the difference between winning and losing. The same is actually valid for Warzone, but nobody really uses the economy system properly. People just spend the cash they find and that's it. With this strategy, one guy is going to give you a 40% boost early game, and the other guy is going to give you a 25% discount if you only go for UAVs, for example. This means that your entire team will now perform all other teams with 65%. There are players out there that buy a higher refresh rate monitor to get a 5 to 10% performance boost according to Nvidia's KDR research. I just gave you 65%. I think it's just saved you a lot of money, right? I know that I'm pulling this out of context, but I'm sure that you know what I mean. There are a few extra things that you can do when using this strategy. First of all, realize that after this strategy you're now fighting over level 5 contracts, which means $9,500 per player, which is an insane amount of cash, and the first free loadout only just entered the game. If you use your old strategy of going for the Scavenger contracts and then a bounty, then you'll be fighting over a level 2 bounty for 5,320 per player instead of a level 4 with 8,360 per player. Why would you do that? You will earn an extra $12,160 for your entire quad. That's a free advanced UAV together with another free UAV for later, and you're probably killing the exact same guys. I'm sure that you can see where I'm going with this. I even broke my own personal record of solo versus duos with a variation of this strategy, so the possibilities are endless. One thing that I will do from now on in quads is keep 13,500 in my pocket and in the pockets of my teammates, just so that one guy can revive everybody else instantly if the supply run buy station is not located in the center of the map. And why? Just because we can. Before we realized that we should do this, we were buying armor boxes just to get 2 extra plates, because we just didn't know what to do with all the cash. So to summarize, for your loadouts, one guy with Pointman to drastically increase your income and one guy with Hardline to drastically decrease your costs. For the contracts, first go for a bounty, get your loadout, do a supply run and get the self-res or not, and then do another bounty and then go for the free loadout. What you do afterwards depends on your team. Usually I keep on going for the bounties because I want to kill as many people as possible, but that's all up to you. I was very surprised that I could not find a YouTube video that even remotely showed something like this, especially this long after the game got released. But I'm glad that you now finally have something to guide you. As always guys, the likes, shares and comments are super helpful to me. And if you want more of these videos, then make sure to subscribe or join me live during a stream. This was Fog of Gaming, thanks for watching, and I will see you in Warzone.
There, going in.